This is Aaron Hopsel in Rhinebeck School of Music. We're up to Blues Basics number 7. We're going to talk about inversions of dominant 7 chords and also common extensions that you can use to spice up your dominant 7 chords when you're playing the blues. So the definition of invert is to turn upside down or to put into a different arrangement or different order. So a chord inversion means you're taking the notes of the chord, and as you move them up the neck, you're just placing them in a different order. You're flip-flopping the notes and you're creating different voicings across the fretboard. So we did these with triads in an earlier video, and if you need to refresh on that, you can find that video here on Patreon. So I have a D chord here. A, D, and F sharp are my notes. If I play it here, I have D, F sharp, and A. If I play it here, I have F sharp, A, and D. So I have these 3 inversions of my D triad. Now the dominant 7 chord, you have 4 notes. You have a major triad plus a minor 7. So now we're going to learn how to take dominant 7 chords and invert them across the fretboard. So one chord voicing that everybody learns in the beginning is this simple D7 chord, which is just like a flip-flop D. So I have D, A, C, and F sharp. I have a root, a 5th, a minor 7, and a major 3rd. Now if I want to move that across the fretboard, here's D sharp 7. I have to account for the fact that there's no more open string. So my root now here is D sharp, then I have my 5th, my minor 7, my 3rd, and that shape is movable. And the root is on the D string where my pointer finger is. So I have D7, D sharp 7, E7, F7, etc. You can move this around. So that's called a root inversion chord, meaning that the root of the chord is the lowest note that you're playing. Now, my first inversion chord is I'm going to take the major 3rd of the chord and I'm going to make it my lowest note. So in the case of a D7, that would be an F sharp. So here's my F sharp, here's my C, here's my D, here's my A. So there is my first inversion D7. So I have all these tabbed out for Patreons with the chord diagrams and everything if you guys want to practice these and follow along. So it always follows the same order with your inversions. So if this was my first D7, the next one is going to be here. If I played it in from a different root, like this is E7, this would be my next inversion of E7. If this is my A7 here, that's my next inversion of my A7 there. So once you kind of get used to these, you learn that they're always going to be in the same order. So after I put an F sharp in the bass, maybe I want to put an A in the bass. So that is called a second inversion chord. Okay, so I have an A, a D, an F sharp, and a C. You may have played this as an A7 down here, but that's a movable shape. And my root is on the G string here. My root of this one was on the B string here. So now my root is on the G here. So that's a D7 shape. So now we've got this, we've got this, we've got this, which you can create a lot of melody with, right? Now the last one, with the 7, the minor 7th is the lowest note, my C, is going to be this one. So I'm barring the 10th fret, and then I have my 11th fret on the G. So I have my minor 7 C, my major 3rd, my 5th, and my root is on the E here. So now I've got these 4 inversions of a D7 chord. And you can throw that in if you're playing any kind of blues that has a D chord. So say I'm playing like just an A blues, you know. Here's my A. I could go to this D7. I could go from this A to this A, that D7. Just provides a really cool texture and sound. So I can do these from any root. So we just did all of these from D. So say we want to do these with an A7 chord. Well, this would be in the first position where my A7 would be, and that is with the 5th in the bass, so that's a second inversion chord, the same one that we played here for D7. So here's A7. My next one would be this one on the 5th fret, where I have the 7, the minor 7th in the bass, so that's my 3rd inversion. Then I have this one, which is the root inversion. And then I have this one, which is the first inversion with the third in the bass. So those are all of my A7 chord inversions. Now, if I want to do them with E7, I have this one in the open position. If I want to take it from the 7, the minor 7. Then I have this one, which is my root inversion with my E here. Then I have my first inversion here, my second inversion, and then I'm back to that one. So I can take all of these chords now and I can play around with them when I'm playing an A blues, right? Because now I have all these inversions of A7, D7, and E7. So a lot of people know this one because it's kind of a common one to play in that open position. So what if I was going to just do just like a basic A blues? So maybe I'll do an A bar blues. So we have A to E to A to D7 to A. Now maybe I want to come up to this E and then in this A here. So from this A to this D7 to this A and then to E7 there. So there's all kinds of ways that you can create these. So if I want to do it in this position, I have this A7 to this E7 to this A7 to this D7 A7 E7 A D D A E. And what if I want to do it in this position? I have this A7 to this. I have this A7 to this E7 to this A7 to this D7 to this A7 to this E7 A D A E. So the possibilities are endless, as you can see, for substituting these inversions over your typical chords. So these are a little bit pedestrian because they don't have any chord extensions. And when you start to color these chords a little bit and add chord extensions, they become a little more interesting. So maybe we can add some 9s and 13s. So to make a dominant 9, we're just going to take the highest root of the chord and move it a whole step to the major second, which is a 9. It's just if the major second is an octave higher than the root, then it's called a 9th chord. Right? So say we're in an A blues and I wanted to play this A7. Here's my A, I'm just going to move it to a B. Now I have a 9th chord, right? Now, if I want to take this voicing and make it a little more interesting, this is an E7. I'm going to take my root here, my E, up to an F sharp. And now I have this. I have 6, 7, 7, 7, my E9. And I have a D9 right there. So now I'm going to make all these 9th chords. So I have A to E, A to D9, to A9, to E9, A, D, A, E. A little bit more interesting, right? What if I want to make them 13 chords? If I want to make a 13 chord, I just take my 5th of my chord and move it up a whole step to the major 6, or the 13. So if I'm on this A7 and I have my E, I move it up a whole step to F sharp. Now I have an A13. If I want to do it with this chord, I can take my 5th here and move it up here. But that's a little tricky. So sometimes people make a 9 and a 13 at the same time, which would be this voicing here, 6, 7, 7, 9, and I can do it here. And I can go back and forth between the 9, 13 and the regular 9. Makes it a little bit more jazzy, so let's hear what that sounds like. So we have A, 13, to D9, 13, So there's all kinds of ways that you can combine these to create different sounds. So just kind of be creative and experiment and try to figure out some new voicings that maybe you haven't thought of before. All right, so hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you haven't already, visit www.rhinebeckschoolofmusic.com and subscribe. Become a patron, patreon.com/Rhinebeck School of Music. I'll see you at the next one.